Alright, let's dive into something that's been buzzing in the space community lately, and trust me, it's a doozy. Imagine this, NASA's big plan to get astronauts back to the moon by 2028 is hitting some serious speed bumps, and it's not just about delays or technical glitches. According to a recent Watchdog report, the Artemis program's lunar landers, built by SpaceX and Blue Origin, might actually leave astronauts stranded. Yeah, you heard that right. Stranded. On the moon. Personally, I think this raises a ton of questions, not just about the landers themselves, but about the entire approach to space exploration. What makes this really interesting is that it's not just a technical issue, it's a human safety issue. And when you're talking about sending people into space, safety should be the absolute priority. But here we are, with NASA's Office of the Inspector General pointing out critical gaps in testing and crew survival plans. It's like, hey, let's make sure the astronauts can actually get back before we send them up there, right? Now, let's break this down. SpaceX's Starship and Blue Origin's Blue Moon lander are the two big players here. Both are racing to deliver a functional lander by 2028, but the report highlights some major red flags. For instance, there's a disagreement between NASA and SpaceX over whether Starship even meets the requirement for manual controls. In my opinion, this is a huge deal. If the crew can't take control of the lander in an emergency, what's the backup plan? And Blue Origin's lander? Well, it's still unclear how its manual controls will work. This isn't just a minor detail, it's a life-or-death situation. What many people don't realize is that these landers aren't just vehicles, they're lifeboats. If something goes wrong, there's no calling for help. The crew is on their own, and the current plans just don't seem robust enough. Another point that immediately stands out is the lack of rescue capability. The report bluntly states that if the lander fails on the lunar surface or can't dock with the Orion spacecraft in orbit, the crew is essentially lost. Think about that for a second. We're talking about leaving astronauts with no way out. From my perspective, this is where the pressure to beat China to the moon might be clouding judgment. NASA is in a race, sure, but is rushing the process worth risking lives? If you take a step back and think about it, this isn't just about national pride or technological dominance, it's about the ethical responsibility of sending humans into space. What this really suggests is that NASA needs to hit the pause button and reevaluate its priorities. The report does offer some recommendations, like updating contract language and improving crew survival analyses, but will that be enough? Personally, I think NASA needs to go further. They should be demanding more rigorous testing, especially for uncrewed demonstration missions. The test-like-you-fly principle sounds great on paper, but if it's not being fully applied, what's the point? A detail I find fascinating is that crew survival analyses are often done too late in the design process, meaning they're more about identifying risks than actually reducing them. That's like checking the brakes after you've already started driving downhill. If we zoom out, this situation reflects a bigger trend in space exploration, the increasing reliance on private companies. SpaceX and Blue Origin are pioneers, no doubt, but they're also businesses with their own priorities. NASA's role here is critical. They need to be the watchdog, the enforcer of safety standards, not just a customer. In my opinion, this is where the partnership model gets tricky. When you're dealing with human lives, there's no room for cutting corners or rushing timelines. So where does this leave us? Well, NASA has agreed to implement most of the report's recommendations, which is a start. But the clock is ticking, and the challenges are massive. The Artemis program is ambitious, but ambition without caution is reckless. What I'm really curious about is how this will impact public perception of space exploration. If people start seeing these missions as risky gambles rather than calculated endeavors, it could shift the entire narrative. Closing thought, as we push the boundaries of what's possible in space, let's not forget the human element. Astronauts aren't just test subjects, they're explorers, dreamers, and most importantly, people. If we can't guarantee their safety, maybe we need to ask ourselves, are we moving too fast? And if so, what are we willing to risk in the name of progress? Let me know what you think in the comments below. This is a conversation we all need to be having.